I know. This is a bold title, isn't it? Well, I'm here to try to explain this title and to lay out my reasoning and proof for that. What I will do is I will try to justify the value of this device as a competitive piece against similar devices in this price range. And how much do you actually get with this device value-wise? And that in a broad spectrum of devices that lies at the crossroad of section of value per pound. So this is not a best amp sonically you can buy, but a best value amp you can buy that you'll get as much as Sonics as much you have paid. I will try to tackle this value, Sonics, versatility, and build quality. Let's look at this device. It comes in black and silver, and personally I prefer the silver, and to be honest I kinda hated design at first. It was too modern, too industrial, and the volume indicators are being displayed with these lines rather than numbers. But when I started to interact with this device in shop and when I actually got to feel it and touch it and see all the interface elements glowing up nicely, I started kind of to like this device. The volume knob had this really smooth operation to it. It is not a large device. The color indicators are actually adjustable to disappear after some times, so not intrusive at all. The sharp angles, the OLED screen that seamlessly goes from one end to other, feels like there has been a lot of thought being put into designing this device. Now I think this, with my Marantz, is my favorite looking device I owned. And let me tell you, I also in store tried Caspian, the Attessa's older brother, and that device, design-wise, is perfect. The clicky sound when you rotate the volume knob and the texture under your fingers is so nice and good. So yeah, I really enjoy the looks, and that was certainly one of the points that I considered when I was thinking what device to purchase, as it is for a review, but also it is supposed to be a looking piece in my room. The Baku device is not the most spectacular, but it has enough of inputs and output to satisfy many people. There is a moving magnet phono, two analog inputs, one pre, one sub out, and two digital optical and coaxial inputs to use the device's DAC, and also 12V trigger and Bluetooth. As I said, nothing special, but more than enough for most people. Now, few words on DAC. It is there and it is okay, but this is nothing new. In this price range of integrated amps, DACs are always serviceable and okay, they never like super impress or something. But it can decode 24-bit audio via optical 96 kHz and via coaxial 192 kHz, which is great, so that your 24-bit flags can be played through this device. The same thing can be said for moving magnet phono. It is good. I like it. It helped my turntable to show off details and sound stages, but nothing like my own personal dedicated phono preamp that truly unlocked my turntable. But as all in one with DAC and phono, they do a great job of being all in one and enhancing your transports or turntables. They were as good as I expected, so nothing here to say bad about. Inside we have A/B amplification, and this is truly a strong point of this device, as you get 80 watts in 8 ohms and 130 watts in 4 ohms. Just great use for your speakers. A power amplifier has two main sections that interact with each other, yet have quite different characteristics. One increases the voltage of the signal up to the required level to drive the speakers, and the other increases the current to drive a speaker's low impedance. There also remained very stable, having clean signal with none or very little distortion. And this is a good segue into sonic character of this device. It is a balanced sonic signature. It will have its deeps and highs in bass and treble, but not a noticeable V curve here, which is great as this amp gives a very masculine, firm and commanding sound. If there's one thing that kinda curves higher, it is a bass, as I was shocked how commanding and present the bass output is. And I like that as it gives music more grounding but also galloping, pulsing quality. It is a great for rock and electronic music, and its transparency into showing listeners a space between the notes but also even-handedly presenting details is how I will best explain the sound character before going into details now. And let's start with a aforementioned highlight for me, and that is bass. It gives such a great foundation for sound. The great thing about bass is how it helps all frequencies seem better, how it helps soundstage seems wider. It makes synths seems like encompassing and rhythm to have this pulsing quality. I noticed that kick drum to be really alive, and with a proper production and mastering, it has so much insight in property and material of instruments. This is your neutral, firm sound I was speaking about. And if you like synth pop from 80s, like Depeche Mode, Talk Talk and Human League, or that it just have a lot of accents in textures and layering in music, oh yeah, this is the one. All that like Vangelis deep ambient textures are going to seem big and just showering you with sonics. Well, not smooth and big as warm amps like Danon or Marantz, it still does a great job into telling stories and exposing details and textures, especially how amp allows bass to have its space and lane. And while I was surprised how well and good the bass is, one thing which I expected to be good here is actually mids and all surrounding good surrounding mids. Vocals were so firm and present in the middle. It truly helped all my speakers that I tested this with. And those speakers include speakers from Monitor Audio, Dali, Triangle, Wharfdale, and a little bit Fine Audio. I wouldn't call it the richest in details, like there is not that super premium feeling to it. And when I say there is no super premium feeling to it, I don't mean like it's garbage. It is great. Just some amps do this a little bit better. But the presentation of darkness of background, the instruments sounding very present and big on soundstage, vocals have this deep detailed sound to it and yet so uncluttered from the others make this such a great amp for variety of listen. And that is so beautiful. It is well covered by that bass we discussed already, and sonicscapes were really made sure. It is that sound you can say it is there for you. It is a sound that understands you. Maybe not to do something groundbreaking, but it does understand what you want and tries to present it with the balance and the sonic quality of pretty much great color tonality to it. It is not sound that will create this forward presentation or a very intimate, close to you performance of music, but it is also not a pulled back reserved. It lacks a bit that passion and richness of just flourishing with dynamics and details, but unless you experienced large variety of amps, you might not miss that. Soundstage was good, not the most airy and encompassing in this class, but really good. With a good synergy and speakers that open a lot, I don't see why it would not create amazing soundscapes. I listened to album The Blues Guitar Boss and it truly bought this amp for me. It truly bought me to buy this amp, and why, you ask? Well, not an acoustic music, it does have a lot of space between timings and instruments. And blues itself is always played severely down-tuned through bluesy amps, so it does by itself carry a lot of gravitas. And that space, how it felt transparent and clear, the voice of Sublin, much it moved, I was just yes. This is a right thing to do. The other thing might not be an audiophile favorite, but I use this album to test how does amp deal with a lot of layering and complexity in production. And the record is Flaming Lips, the Soft Bulletin. And it did a great job to remain composed in this chaos and to have enough of clarity and separation for me to hear voices, synths, drums, guitar, bass, all of them clashing, but still vivid enough for me to track on a soundstage. And the last thing is my big surprise from past year, and that is Fish, Vigil in the Wilderness of Mirrors. Now, this is not an album from 2024, but it was remixed and remastered. But the album is from 1990. Now, I love remasters. There are some awful, like Berlin Trilogy of David Bowie from 90s, but this shocked me how album instantly became better by just properly mixing it and mastering it. It is a fantastic job and just show how important the quality of the production and mastering is for hi-fi listening. It is also a record that you can test bass, mids and treble, as it is very versatile prog rock record. But to me, it is important to feel emotion of this record. But what caught me by surprise is how beautifully I could hear everything from bass, which was amazingly good, to emotions of Fish vocals, to every piano, guitar and bass. Just amazing clarity, but yet remains interesting and emotional. It lacks a bit punch and showmanship, but we'll speak later on that. And we come to the last part of me explaining the sound quality, and that is treble. And there is not much to say here. If, for example, you come from Riga Alex and expect punchy, very dynamically open sound, you might be a bit disappointed. As treble goes, it is a bit reserved. It is good, it truly is good. It opens nicely, but not the best in class. Just don't have too much expectations that you will hear every texture and detail in percussions, the guitar solos, pianos and violins. But it does a good job of handling and shaving it if it goes too high, giving more grounded feel to them. It is not a bad thing for everyone. A lot of systems struggle with pianos and violinas if they are too brightly mixed and presented. So it's a good treble. It didn't impress me. There was a lot of good stuff to it, not the best in class, but for many people that might just be enough. But let's pick what I personally did not like. It is 2025 and we need in amps about 1000 euros to start seeing XLR input. The Chinese brands are delivering this and so should Western ones as well. The only amp that does deliver this in this price range is Audiolab 8300, but definitely it should be given the XLR for amps like this. Second thing is volume. So when you start the amp, it will automatically lower the volume and you have to raise it to preferred loudness. So if you have a perfect spot, for example 11 o'clock knob rotation, forget about it. You will always have to raise the volume when starting an amp. And I am not still perfectly bought for lines to show volume over numbers. I think they look cool, but would still prefer numbers because my brain has already been adjusted to numbers to recognize loudness of volume. Even though I really love pictograms and icons on panel, it looks really good and easy to see. But something else. You cannot manually switch the sources. To switch a source, you will definitely always need a remote. I honestly don't know how you would change sources if you lose that remote. That could be a potential issue. And there are some issues in sonic presentation which I already spoke about in sound quality, but that will be subjective from listener to listener. There should not be a problem pairing this with other gear. Its more neutral, balanced nature will work well with many different gears. It is one of those amps that will allow all the special things, all the talent of your other gear to shine through. So, if your speakers are bright, warm or neutral, it will do a fine job. Maybe the worst synergy is with more neutral speakers as it will lack excitement a bit. I think the great partners are Monitor Audio Silver 100 or Gold 50 as it is a bit bright but also have a size and big bass reflex for more attackier bass. So all the talents will shine through this amp. or something like Triangle Comet 14th edition, which have aluminium tweeter and two bass reflex holes. So, in my review, I said that mids were okay, but it had amazing bass and treble. This will allow that kind of gear to shine perfectly. But I loved mostly this amp with Dalis, specifically with Menuet and Rubicon. Its lush and rich mids were complementing perfectly a bit reserved mids of Attessa, and its a bit more masculine sound added a great bit like beefiness and scope into the shy bass of Dalis. So it was a perfect synergy and harmony. Just how much I enjoyed that I had this emotion of Dali being presented through a lot of clarity and yet with a better bass than how they usually sound. So I just really loved the synergy with Dalis here. I think you should too. So bright and warm speakers are a great idea. Neutral, good, but a less flair and excitement there. I will go now through my second pick, the close alternative and a great cheap alternative. The reviews for these devices are going to be in link of video description. First, a great cheap alternative is definitely Advanced Paris XI75. This 650-700 euros, 110 watts in 4 amps amp is super amazing. It is much cheaper than Attessa, and while it does not have power, details and clarity of Attessa, it brings amazing warm sound with a great bass, a smooth presentation, imaging and really a lot power in this price range. It delivers incredible value. It has a decent DAC, a great phono stage, a Bluetooth. I highly recommend that you guys go and check it out. You will be surprised how actually good it is for the money it costs. I was amazed that this sound came out from the amp in this price range and it looks cool to me. If you want class A, B and in this price range, there is this amp that you have to check out. It is just a great value. The honorable mention is definitely Musical Fidelity M3 SI. Oh yes, 11 years in and this amp still delivers. It just shows that we definitely need M3 SI 2nd gen or something. To me, sound of Musical Fidelity and Roksan is similar in sonic character. Both are neutral with emphasis on bass and grounded sound, but I just think there are a few things that goes in favor of Roksan, and that is a better deck, better phono stage, more clarity and precision in tonality. Roksan unravels more details while giving more space around instruments. Musical Fidelity is still mighty fine, they are similar in power and if you find it on some discounts, it is a great catch. As it does everything so good, it is just that I find Roksan a bit better in all corners. Not much better, but a bit better. So if you find somewhere cheap Musical Fidelity M3 SI, it is something I highly think you should consider. To me, the closest alternative is Arcam A15. Now, if you choose Arcam over Roksan, it is all great. I would not have any issues as I think they are super close in quality, power and price, everything. Honestly, you should consider design here, we are that close. Attessa comes in black and silver, while Arcam only in black. Arcam is a bigger box with these big numbers on display, etc. It has these cool yellow accents which I really like. But sound-wise, there are things that are different, and this is a moment where I can consider one or other depending on my mood and music I listen. I feel that Arcam can extract more details in top end and can also open more in top end. It also creates a perception of a larger soundstage. But as both of them being on a more balanced side of things, they both have nice transparency and background. But this is where Roksan takes points. The clarity of vocals and just blackness of background is in favor of Roksan. Also, the texture and insight in production is better with Roksan. Again, very close to Arcam, but this is better. Arcam also has this a bit darkness to him, but Roksan again had more push and scope of bass. Just showing and opening more and having more that pulsing grounded feeling to it. So I think they're both fantastic amps, but my price goes to Roksan only because I just enjoyed listening to music with it a bit more. A bit more insight, clarity and presence was that which tipped the scale in Roksan's direction. Even though, who knows, maybe for you it is Arcam that delivers better sound. If you like more drive and punch, just try them both and choose which one is more for you. So we have come to the end of this long review. Is this an endgame amp for me? No. I think none of the amps I mentioned in this review are endgame for me. I said the cheapest endgame amp for me is certainly a Musical Fidelity M5 SI, but personally I gravitate towards Primaire and Hegel for that endgame. Does this amp do everything best in its class? No, it does not. The Audiolab 7000A, for example, does more expansive and larger and richer sound stages. Riga LX is a monster in detail extraction. Unfortunately, I have not heard like Cambridge Audio Neo 81, so I leave that opinion for some future time. The Marantz Model 50, the Denon PMA 1700 have bigger, richer bass and smooth sound, and they're generally great for bright speakers. But this is the one which I found that value corresponds so well to bring a lot of audiophile goodies in a single package that I think is just a singularly great value. It has most of checkboxes crossed, and those that it did not cross, it just do really good. It is a very firm, very focused, mature sound that brings best of all instruments, making listening music an enjoyable experience that feeds you enough information that are greatly spaced out and vivid on soundstage. It is a great and muscular backdrop of detailed bass with enough drive to put some gas in the fuel of excitement. I truly recommend this, and this might not be your best this year, but it is definitely mine, and I would love to hear your opinions. Maybe someone will inspire me to go to listen some new amp, and who knows, buy it and review it eventually. And such a amazing vocals, the way it separates, the way it is placed in the center of a soundstage, that imaging, it's just that space, that background, it's just really great. And with that excitement, it does create a great cocktail of sound for you and for me and for everyone. All the best, guys, keep daydreaming, and see you in our next video.